Okay, now if this was not one of the coolest things I ever got the opportunity to do, this was a while back, and I got a chance to go for 24 hours on the USS Nimitz. We flew in on a COD, a carrier onboard delivery plane. It was a C-2 Greyhound, and this Nimitz here, it's cost about $8.5 billion. It's kind of like a Disney park. It was deployed in 1975. This is the COD type airplane that we landed on. In fact, that's it moving. We just arrived on the ship. We flew out of San Diego. This ship is 1,092 feet long. It's got a beam of 134 feet. And when we arrived, they were launching airplanes. Is this cool or what? Got all the burners going. Everybody's out on the deck doing their jobs. Got the blast shields going down, waiting for the next guy. There goes the blast shields going up. There's no rope barriers. I'm not sure OSHA's aware of what's going on out there, but we were having a good time anyway. Who's that handsome devil? Anyway, so here they are launching off, and I couldn't believe this. I mean, when we came in, they landed, and it was basically, you hooked the wire, and all you could compare it to was, that was a really bad landing. It was hard, whammo on the deck. Of course, these things are designed for it. Pretty strong landing gear. These are basically F-18s was the main airplanes that they were using. I think they had some like E-6s or something. This is the arresting cable down there that goes down inside. We later got a chance to go down inside and visit the rooms where they were at. I think they pay out about 170 feet or something like that, and they basically, when he comes in, he tries to hit I think that third wire, wham, we got it, and it basically decelerates the airplane in a way that absorb the shock, but at the same time not rip the airplane apart. Coming in, trying to get that third cable. And of course, I think what happens is when they touch down on the deck, they just about touch down on the deck, they slam it into afterburner in case for some reason they miss the wire. They got to be able to be in a power situation to go around. So stop, and I don't see the burners going, but I think the throttle is up at some point. They disconnect the cable, and then these things will basically. Now this is some kind of observation plane. That's not specifically a COD, but it's got a big radar dome on the top. They're probably looking out for enemy subs or, not quite sure what those are. Some kind of or missile or rocket or something. And then we went downstairs. You're going to see a lot of walking through the ship here because there was just, I can't remember. The thing's got like about 7 decks or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's got the potential for nuclear power, and I think they can load up and actually go out on the water for like 20 years and not have to refuel. Of course, I don't know what they do about getting some food, but that's what the CODs are for. I personally like mine fried with tartar sauce. I don't know about you, but I feel like a rat looking for a piece of cheese. I hope there's something good at the end of this. Hey. We came down, we had like a little bit of an arrival briefing here, and got welcomed by everybody. There was just so much going on, and you got to realize, I had asked ahead of time if I could GoPro some of this, so I was pretty much all over trying to take in everything and walking around and keeping up with the group. So here we get a little briefing, answer a few questions here and there. Yeah, it was interesting. My opportunity to be able to do this came a gentleman by the name of Taras Lazenko. He's one of the guys that was working with the Navy, pulling some of the airplanes out of Lake Michigan. I had an opportunity to dive on a Wildcat and an SBD at some point. Anyway, he gets the opportunity occasionally to invite people out on these things. You can only do this every 4 years. and basically a rule where you can't take advantage of the situation. But because Ataris had been helping out the Navy, he got an opportunity to invite friends occasionally, and he called Mark Clark, who I bought my first second Warbird, the T6 and the P-51D Cripes Almighty from, and Mark included me in the group, so it was really, really great. And Stephen Bush, also from the Bush beer family, came along as well, and it was just a phenomenal opportunity. They flew down in one of Stephen's little private airplanes, and I met him there in San Diego, jumped on a smoker really quickly, got down there, we hooked up, had a nice dinner the night before, and the next day, man, we were in for a treat. So here we are getting a chance to kind of see the room here where they control the ops on the deck and all that. The guy's going to show us here a little bit. They've got like a little carrier deck down there that's a static one, and they know which ones are being refueled. They know which ones. It's an exact copy of what's actually happening on the deck, so they can see things from a from a coordination perspective.
Good afternoon. Yeah. My name's Brian Lewis. I'm the air bosun. I'm not supposed to actually be in this chair, but the handler upstairs is taking care of some issues. So the aircraft handling officer would be sitting in this chair. So this is a square model of the flight deck. Everything is to scale. And you can see the young man right here. He's putting pins on and taking pins off. And this is basically what we have as far as the handler's SA, or situational awareness, to see what's going on the flight deck and move the aircraft around, as well as the hangar bay downstairs. So we have the fuelies over here, which is a manned position. It's 24/7 while we have service to the deck. And this right here is, you see the fuel nuts right there. The fuel nut means that it's actually getting fuel right now. So this is as real time as we get. A ship on the East Coast actually has an electronic reading board. I forget what this is called, but
I'm sorry that the sound quality is not better than it was, but I was doing the best I could. This was one of the first GoPro Kermicam things that I ever did, so forgive me.
Wing spread. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. So on the flight deck we have about 400-ish people that can work up there at any given time. Usually when it rains is when you really find out the people that are mandatory up there, because all the rest kind of scurry around and don't want to get wet. But the average age for the young folks is about 18 years old, and they're expected to be up there anywhere from a minimum of 12 hours to sometimes 18 to 20 hours a day, which is a bit challenging at best. To my left is the dog, and the young lady's the pup back there. She's kind of hanging out. That's the air wing counterparts, our interface that we have.
Just introducing some of the other crew members and explaining what their job was. There's the onboard deck cam.
And then we are getting what we need to do, helping them and moving them around. And actually, there's the handler right there, Russell Lawrence.
Just the crew coordination on this was just off the chart.
Sometimes more than others. So that aircraft right now is refueling.
205 turning.
Needs fuel, refueling. Second go, immobile. Any questions on that? It's we call pinology, nonology. You caught one of the 4 wires today. You ran out 180 feet. If they haven't told you that, that's how far it will actually let you take that trap width. Tomorrow, you guys first timers here?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, nobody's running. Tomorrow you get to shoot. You have to shut off the cat. It'll be 300 feet in about 2.5 seconds. Good time. It'll be your best. Who likes roller coasters? Uh-oh, you don't.
Jason,
well,
210 off shooter.
You're used to it, so.
Yeah, so we crawled all over this ship, and I just kept, videoing any place I could, looking at different things, those little brass valves and stuff. Of course, all the doors are watertight in case they, have some kind of a hull leak or something. They can isolate it easily enough. And all the, there's no drop ceilings or anything because it's all accessible for maintenance and inspection and stuff like that. Okay, so this is the bridge basically where the captain sits. Captain Kirk's here.
Y'all gonna get an opportunity to sit in the chair and we'll take a picture for you.
Cool. Danny's got the best view of the deck. I think this is the most expensive penthouse on the ship. And the one thing you'll notice, this is an angled deck carrier. You see, he's not taking off directly straight ahead. These guys are, But what happens when they come in and land, they land on the angle deck from a safety point of view, because if they miss the wire and they go off the deck, they actually go off the side of the ship instead of going off the thing. Because if you had an engine failure or something like that and you dumped off the front of the boat, the ship would run right over the top of you. That is the captain's chair right there. Sitting. So in World War II, they had straight decks, which meant that they landed directly into the hull line of the ship. But later, after the war, I think probably into Korea and stuff, I'm not exactly sure. But eventually they came up with the angle deck. See, so if he went off the ship there, he'd go off the side. So they just angle the ship slightly off the wind to get the wind down the deck. There they are, retrieving the cable. And obviously, there is a lot of safety concern that goes on the deck here of things you could imagine if you weren't looking behind you, one of those things grab you. Now, this ship actually has the ship's company, as far as the sailors, this has like between 3,000 and 3,200 sailors that operate the ship. The air wing is about 1,500 people, and then there's about another 500 people that do various other things. Must be a Boy Scout compass. Got some exercise equipment up here in case we get lazy. We're about 135 miles off the coast, heading north. And there's about 60 airplanes on this ship, and they all get stored in the hangar deck below, which we'll see at some point. And just inside the ship just goes and goes and goes.
The APB out like a minute ago, they should have been up here in the bridge.
So this group here, I think, basically, helps control the flight operations.
He's going to be able to field the question, but he needs to be up here.
You guys got a tough job. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, man. Just relax. Just make yourself at home. No, this actually stand up here anymore. Okay. Primary flight control is where the air boss and mini boss work. We're pretty much in charge of.
Yeah, so I think these guys control what happens within 5 miles of the boat. They're basically the control tower, and then beyond that there's like an air traffic control, things that would do anything outside that 5 mile deal. There's their traffic pattern on the boat. Generally they would come in, make an overhead brake, turn base, make a downwind, a crosswind, and then land on the ship.
Because I know we have some more stretch there.
So, and we have our ISIS operator right here. It's integrated shipboard information. Pretty much just the basic info, whether the aircraft is airborne, on deck, how much fuel he has, the pilot's name, side number, and we can actually tell which frequency, which radio frequency they're talking on. So, and we're in tag, when it comes to this, we're tag team with the air traffic controllers. So we're in control of everything within 5 to 10 miles of the boat. And everything outside of that is the ACs, the air traffic controllers.
And obviously they must have, dual people on board with backup, so they can rotate. So when somebody's, on staff, somebody's, sleeping or resting or something, because they've got to rotate everybody. Oh my God, there was just so much going on everywhere. I can't even imagine what it takes to even maintain this thing. Pretty cool. I like the brass. Hey. different rooms for, where some of the higher crew stayed. Yeah, we actually stayed. It was basically a 24-hour deal. There's the ship. I didn't get a chance to stay very long because I was trying to keep up with everybody. But we basically we landed, like maybe right after lunch. We had lunch the next day, and then we cotted off the ship. And it was just really cool. Maintenance control guys. And everybody, they have like different colored shirts they wear to identify, who's who. Just a instant, quick recognition, especially out on the flight deck. What's happening? How you doing? Good. It's like a pilot debrief. Kind of like the briefing quarters, for the flight ops guys, and there was a couple of guys there debriefing what they had done, and I think we got a little bit of a video, PowerPoint or something like that of what kind of airplanes were on the ship and kind of what they did and what their program was.
Come on in.
Hey.
How you doing, sir?
Doing awesome. Yeah, so this is a bit of a welcoming by the Rear Admiral. And I don't think he's exactly in command of the ship, but there's actually a commander of the ship, but then he's also on the ship controlling the whole fleet, of which this ship is basically the head of. That would be his job.
But please excuse my folks as they come around. When they get watered, you can stand up and do it, but what I wanted to do was welcome all of you. I didn't get a chance to say hi to you when you landed. Wasn't that awesome coming in?
Cool. Very good.
Well, I'm Rear Admiral Pete Nimitz. I'm the Carrier Strike Group Commander. And I always said to my folks that bring the DVs in, I said, hey, look, I sometimes don't get a chance to do this because sometimes our ops gets pretty intense.
Yeah, and the Rear Admiral was just basically welcoming us on board. He normally sometimes would have been too busy to do that, but we were very fortunate to get a chance to meet him because he had a little bit of downtime. There's Markham Up Clark, courtesy aircraft. This is the ship's store. We got a chance to go in there and check out a few things. I bought a USS Nimitz hat. This is where they load the nuclear stuff right here?
The reactor coolant pump.
Yeah, there we go. So everybody got a chance to buy a little something in their little PX store there. I was going to buy a Reese's cup, but I was afraid it might be radioactive. I have to point out that that was a cat launch. We are in a room right below the cat launch. Hello, what's happening? You must be our hotelier. She's going to show us around. Over now. I neglected to take any video in the showers. They're very interesting. Okay, that evening we actually got a Sunday morning chance to actually eat at the captain's table, have dinner. It was very nice, but I didn't feel it appropriate to take the GoPro camera. But we got to talk and different things and had a little celebration, and I think they did some special things for us. Looking for the cheese. Here was the lunchroom, dinner room, breakfast room.
Good morning.
You can imagine the logistics it takes to basically run a ship like this, feed them, take care of them, laundry. You got like 5,000 people that you're dealing with on this floating hotel warship. Oh my gosh. Our crew. Good morning, everyone. There's Mark and Steve. I'm headed to the end of the line. That's Mark. I'm up just a little bit. Clark. Bought my first warbird from him, AT6G. So here we are in the breakfast room. Check this pipe out here that runs over the room here. It's purple. I don't think that's grape juice. Okay, here we are in the machine shop, checking it out. I think somebody said when the ship was built, a lot of these tools were actually old when they got them when they were originally installed. Press. The dual. I think I got one of those. Like a shaper. I think I can just about match what they've got at the Fantasy of Flight shop, but when we really get going with Act 3, we're going to blow these guys away. Surface grinder over there. One here. Whoa, that's a big LeBlanc lathe. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always been impressed with a nice LeBlanc spinner with a nice rack of cutting-edge accessories. I'm just saying. A Monarch lathe. This stuff was all put in when the ship was originally built like 37 years ago, and the guy said it's probably was old then. Sheet metal shop, little turret punch, brake, a shear, a roller. Of course, we got the welding shop here. God, just tons of stuff. I got a welder almost that good. The final fixers there. Here we are going down into the hangar deck, which is just below the main deck, where they store all the airplanes. A lot of, looks like APU equipment, tugs, things like that. There's the hangar. Radar airplane, F-18s. Oh, they got a nice oceanside view. Okay, let's go see what we can find here in the hangar deck. Doing some maintenance on some F-18s. Oh, thank God I don't have to collect these. I think it's an EA6, yeah, B. Only a face a mother could love. Is this cool or what? It's another, so they have 3 elevators, all on the one side. At one point they took us out to the back of the ship. There was a little place that was open in the back there. It was the only place on the ship where if somebody was a smoker, they could go smoke. Yeah, up and down elevators. No, that's what those are. They roll the airplanes out on the elevator, and then it takes them up to the deck.
Oh.
They're literal elevators.
Elevator.
Yeah, see that? Yeah, see that right there? It comes down, the elevator goes out there, and they lift them up to take them up to the deck.
Oh.
Or how would they get the planes up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark went on the trip. He was trying to see if they wanted to sell anything he could put on his website. So if you see an F-18 pop up one day, you'll know where he got it. This is where they refuel for get the avgas and stuff. So anyway, they shoot a line over to another boat, and they pull it up here, and they can either use these for fueling this boat, or they can actually put fuel back to another boat. He's on.
Hourly. You guys have chips? Empty, huh? It's just enough for 17.
He's on the clock.
Yeah. I want chips.
Smells good here. What am I doing?
I know what you just throw those out by hand, right?
Oh, yeah. Footballs. Were you driving down the road? Oh, my goodness.
I always wear goggles when I play with bombs. Kind of storing the helicopters. Yeah, we got some nice weather today, huh?
So this morning we're going to go up and we're going to do a pod walkdown. During the pod walkdown, this is an event we do twice a day, every single day, for me for the last 16 years. So I really enjoy doing it.
See, you got a red guy, you got the yellow guy. So I think we're going to start at the other end of the deck, and we're going to walk down the whole ship looking for cameras people dropped, you know, coins and toothpicks that fell out of our pockets so they don't end up in the jet engine. The guys in purple are the refuelers. They call them grapes. Wonder why. Purple guys, green guys.
Every morning what we do is we're going to do what's called no load, which is a functional operation of the catapult. So you have these shooters here, which their job here, a disassociated tour from a pilot tour, their job is to actually shoot the aircraft off of the catapult. Now when we shoot it with a no load, like I said, it's a functional test, and they'll do that here once we get to the fantail. They're setting up for it on the bow and the waist. Catapults 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 aircraft elevators and 4 wires.
And you can see in the distance they're just about ready to start to do their FOD check.
3 weapons elevators on the flight deck, and that's how we get weapons from the hangar bay to the flight deck, and or if we're doing a vert rep, which is vertical replenishment, getting it downstairs. The bubble right there. So here they come. You know, a lot of the crew gets out there and they're looking for foreign object damage, which is anything that can get sucked up into the jet engines. It was interesting, while this was happening, they were playing a bunch of like rock and roll, heavy metal tunes over the loudspeakers, but we had to delete it off the thing or we would have had a copyright issue. But just imagine one of the famous rock bands playing something right now as they were walking along. You see all the different colored shirts. One of the cat launch deals. It's all steam generated when they launch them, and you launch off this thing in 2.5 seconds. And when we landed on the deck, I thought, that was just a bad landing. You know, we kind of stopped. Of course, all the seats face backwards in the military passenger airplanes like C-5s and, you know, the transport airplanes, you know, for crash protection. But when we took off, oh my God, that was so cool. I mean, in 2.5 seconds, we went from 0 to 120 miles an hour. We were flying off the end of the ship. It was pretty exhilarating.
A little museum here. Got like a little museum in here. There's Admiral Nimitz. Of course, he was a famous World War II head of the Navy in World War II in the Pacific. Yeah, he was actually from Texas. There's a Nimitz Museum in Texas, and I got my SPD fuselage out of there. Yeah, it was actually a wind machine used out on the movie sets in LA after the war. So here we are doing our last lunch. That actually looked like it might have been like an officer's lunch. They might have had separate eating places. Getting a little bit of a briefing here before we launch off back home. Filling out a little customer survey.
Thanks again for coming out. It's great having you. Thank you. Have a safe flight back.
There we go. Set it out. I'm not sure what DV stands for. Probably means, look at me, I'm an idiot in Navy. I'm a civilian or something like that.
See you guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Good deal. Appreciate it. Good deal.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But I got to tell you, the biggest take home from this whole trip was how amazing the crew worked together. There was a lot of just young kids out there, 18, 19-year-old kids, and the whole thing, just the crew coordination was the most impressive thing. I'll never forget that. If we could only take that to Washington. Here we go. Now we basically all lined up, waiting for them to get us ready. They had the airplane set in position, lowered the back end of the COD. Like I said, it was a C2 Greyhound. COD stands for Carrier Onboard Delivery. And we are about to become a package to be delivered back to the mainland at the base in San Diego. There's an elevator going down, taking two F-18s down to the hangar deck down below. There was just so much going on the ship all the time. It was hard to keep track of everything. And you see the wings fold, back end drops, loading cargo, passengers. All the seats face backward for crash protection, which worked for you when you landed, because they landed pretty hard and stopped pretty fast, so you went back in the seat. But on the takeoff, man, you had to put your hands up on the seat in front of you. And man, when you accelerated, it was like, it was, God, man, it was kick butt. 2.5 seconds, we were doing 120 miles an hour. I think that probably beats probably one of the best rail dragsters. Now look what I do. Oh, this camera work for my frickin' Facebook fans. I hope everybody appreciates this. 5294. That's how they would have identified my body had we not had a successful takeoff.
For the day, all right, we're going to go over some emergency 12 here on the day. As we're doing this, the chief's going to go around. He's going to make sure all your seatbelts are fastened properly.
The door is closing. Your in-flight movie will start shortly. Yeah, I had to sign off. Couldn't use the camera. Here we are back at the San Diego. Big, big, big naval base there. We made it. Still in one piece.
Go ahead and start taking off your LPUs. Keep the radios on. Take off your LPUs and then you exit the aircraft when we get to
This was an amazing opportunity, and I thank the Navy and all the people that just put all this together and allow, civilians to come out and appreciate what they do.
Pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. That was awesome. I like this whole building back here too. That terminal building. Sorry. Thanks, sir. That pretty much ends my trip. I'm heading up to the airport. Got a hotel up by San Diego. I got an early flight out in the morning. Look forward to getting home, tell everybody how much fun I had.
Life is good.